Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be going over my updated 2022 pedal board and just talking about the slight changes that I've made over the past year and even some additions that I've added that have changed my tone. Today I'll be playing my Gretsch G6112 TCB. Also, if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button with the ring bell on so you stay up to date on new videos that I post. Alright, let's get into the video. The in-ears that I use for both live and studio are the JH Audio 13 V2s. They have 8 drivers and they sound really good on guitar as well as bass. So the first thing that I'll start off with is my amp. In this video I am using the Walrus ACS1. For those of you who watched my previous pedalboard walkthrough, I was using the Strymon Iridium. The reason why I switched over to the ACS1 was mainly because I was able to run 2 amps. And then the Iridium, I was only able to run 1 amp. I honestly just like the feel of the ACS1. It just feels more natural and it sounds more natural. And I'm able to get more clarity out of it, and my overdrives work well with this amp. Alright, so I'll go ahead and talk about my amps. On the left side, I'm using a Fender style amp, and on the right side, I'm using a Vox style amp. I also want to mention I'm using David Hislop's IRs. I'm using his ProSonic 545-3 on the left side, which is the Fender, and I'm using a Greenback 545-3 on the right side, which is the Vox amp. The Vox amp is set a little bit hotter than the Fender just because of the way the amp runs on the ACS1. And so for my settings for each amp, they're very similar, but the only differences are the volume and the gain. So I'll go ahead and start off by talking about my Fender amp tone settings. So I have the bass at around 11 o'clock, the mid at around 2 o'clock, treble around 1 o'clock, volume is at around 12, gain is a little over 12 o'clock, and then room I also have at 12 o'clock. And on the Vox side, the right side, I have the bass same at 11 o'clock, mid at 2 o'clock, treble at 1 o'clock. And then my volume is at 12 o'clock, gain a little over 12 o'clock, and then my room is at around 12 o'clock as well. I've also implemented using the boost on the ACS1. What the boost has done to my sound is just give more headroom as a whole and acts as a overdrive 1 or even a small boost. I also want to point out my low and high frequencies on my amps. I have the high frequency turned up all the way on both amps, and the low frequency is at around 11 o'clock on both amps. So I'll go ahead and start with my clean tone. I have my compressor on, and for this part, I'm going to have the bypass of the ACS1 off, and then afterwards, I'll turn it on and show you the difference. Here's the bypass on. Okay, here's with the boost off. And here's with it on. So as you can hear, the boost just adds just a little bit of grit and headroom, which I really, really like. Okay, so I'll talk about my signal chain. So first I go into my Deep 6 compressor by Walrus Audio, which then goes into my Dunlop volume pedal, and then into my Octaver by Moore, and then I go into my overdrive section. So I go to my Benson, and then to my Protein by Brown Amplification, and then my Superbolt by JHS. After that, I go into modulation. I go into my Juliana, which acts as a chorus / vibrato. And then after that, I go into my wet effects that goes straight into my Specular Tempest by GFI system, which I'm running as a delay. And then I go into my Strymon Big Sky as my reverb. And then lastly, I go straight into my amp. So let's hear my clean tone without my compressor on. Here's with it engaged. As you can hear, it just adds a little bit more volume. It's very subtle. I have the level at around 1 o'clock. The tone is at around 9 o'clock. Sustain, I like to have a little bit sustained so that way it rings out a little longer. The blend is just a little before 12 o'clock, and then my attack is at around 1 o'clock. Next is my Octaver by Moore. I use this mainly when I'm doing a solo or a lead line. It just really cuts in the mix and it stands out really nicely. So here's my Octaver, and I'll also be using a small reverb. And from there, I go into my Benson preamp. I use this mainly whenever I'm on EG2, when I'm hitting big chords or just single notes. I have the volume at around 3 o'clock, a little over 3 o'clock, and then the drive is a little under 9 o'clock. The bass is at around 11 o'clock, and then my treble is around 1 o'clock. So here's my clean tone. And then here's my Benson. As you can hear, it's a good amount of boost. It can also get really clean as well with very light picking, but overall this is a really good overdrive. Next, I go into my Protein by Brown Amplification. This is a dual overdrive. I really like the blue side, which is a blues breaker, because of how well it breaks up and how hard it hits my amp. So I'll go ahead and play the clean tone and then my Protein on the blue side. The level on the blue side is at around 2 o'clock, gain at around 10 o'clock, and then my tone is at around 1 o'clock. So here is my clean tone. As you can hear, the blue side of the protein just sounds really full. The attack is great, and it gives my amp a lot more headroom. Okay, here is my right side on the protein, which is the green side. The level is at around a little over 12 o'clock, and then the drive is at around 9 o'clock, tone at around 3 o'clock. So I'll go ahead and play a clean tone and then engage the green side. Here is what both of these sound like stacked. Next is my JHS Superbolt V2. This one is probably the one that I use often and the most for either a boost or an overdrive one. I have the volume set at around a little over 12 o'clock and the drive at 9 o'clock and the tone at around 11 o'clock. So here is my clean tone. Here's the Superbolt on. As you can hear from the Superbolt, it's really open. There's a lot of clarity going on. It gets really dirty if you really dig in, and it also cleans up really well if you pick slightly. So the two pedals that I always stack together with are the Superbolt and the blue side of the protein. So here is my Superbolt and blue side of the protein turned on. Another two pedals that I'll stack together are the Benson preamp and the blue side of the Protein. So this is what both of these sound like. So after my overdrive section, I then go into my modulation to my Juliana by Walrus Audio. So these are my settings. If I want a more of a vibrato sound, these are what my settings will look like. So I'll go ahead and engage it and let you hear what it sounds like. So these are my settings. If I want to use this as a chorus pedal, I'll also be using a Cloud 3 just to add a little bit more trails on my reverb. Okay, then straight after my Juliana, I go straight into the Specular Tempest, which I'm using as a delay. Nothing really fancy here. I'm just using a tape delay, and I also have the function to tap if I wanted to go to different presets. Which also helps whenever I am running a lot of songs in a set. Okay, so here is the delay with very little reverb. After my delay, I go straight into my Strymon Big Sky. So I have three reverbs that I use. I use a Cloud 1, which is more of a smaller reverb. Cloud 2 is more of a medium reverb. And then Cloud 3 is more of a large reverb. So here is Cloud 1, just the reverb. Also want to mention that Cloud 1, the decay on it is around 3.5 seconds, mix at around 40%. Cloud 2 is 5 seconds on the decay and then at around 50% on the mix. And for Cloud 3, the decay is at around 7 seconds and my mix is at around 60 to 70%. Here's Cloud 2. Here is cloud 3. So I'll go ahead and do an overview of all of my pedals and let you listen to all my reverbs and delays and overdrives all together and how I would utilize them in a set. Guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you for all the love and support. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.